Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the channel. Most personal injury law firms are spending thousands of dollars a month on SEO, and they still have no idea if it's actually working. Today, we're breaking down exactly why that happens and why almost every personal injury firm is being sold the wrong gold. For those that don't know me, my name is Jesse Stewart. I'm a paralegal turned SEO specialist. I help personal injury law firms generate more retained clients through retained client SEO without PPC dependency. If you're enjoying this type of content and want me to make more like it, hit the like button and let's get into today's video. All right, first up, let's talk numbers because most firms don't even know what's normal to spend, and that alone causes a lot of confusion. Solo practitioners and small law firms typically spend between $500 and $1,500 a month on SEO. That's usually enough to cover the basics, like some on-page work, a bit of content, maybe some local listing management. Most mid-sized firms are usually in the $1,500 to $5,000 a month range, where you start to see more robust content production and some link building mixed in. Large multi-location firms start at $5,000 a month and can go up from there, sometimes well into the five figures, because they're managing SEO across multiple cities and multiple sets of local rankings all at once. But personal injury breaks the whole scale. Personal injury SEO specifically runs anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 or more a month for a comprehensive strategy. You heard that right, and it's not a firm getting overcharged. That range is driven by how competitive the space actually is. If you're looking at a full service approach, meaning keyword research, on-page optimization, content creation, link building, and the tools to track all of it, that typically lands somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a month, even for firms that aren't going after the most competitive markets in the country. Now, here's the question I get all the time. Why does personal injury cost 2 to 3 times more than something like estate planning or family law or even general litigation? The answer comes down to competition, and you can actually see it play out in a paid search numbers before you even look at organic. Keywords like car accident lawyer can cost $150 to $300 per click in paid search. Think about that for a second. A firm could spend $300 just to get one person to click an ad, with no guarantee that person even calls, let alone hires your firm or signs a single retainer. And here's the part a lot of firms don't realize. Organic competition mirrors that paid competition almost exactly. If a keyword is expensive to bid on Google, and here's the part a lot of firms don't realize. Organic competition mirrors that paid competition almost exactly. If a keyword is expensive to bid on Google ads, it's expensive to rank for organically too, because the same firms competing for the paid spot are also fighting for the organic spot. That's not a coincidence. That's a market telling you in dollar terms exactly how many firms are fighting for the same client. So when a personal injury firm gets a quote for SEO that's 3 times higher than what their friend's estate planning firm pays, it's not because the agency is padding the bill. It's because the competitive landscape is generally that much harder. So let's go a layer deeper on that PPC to organic connection, because I think it's one of the most overlooked parts of this whole conversation. When PPC costs are higher in a market, that tells you something important. It tells you that the lifetime value of a client in the market is high enough that firms are willing to pay $150, $200, $300 a click to get in front of them. Personal injury fits that profile perfectly because a single case can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So naturally, every firm within driving distance wants to rank for car accident lawyer near me, truck accident attorney, slip and fall lawyer, all of it. That's why the organic results page for those terms is just as crowded and just as hard to break into as the paid ads above it. Now, with numbers like that, you would think every firm would be terrified of SEO. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is the part that should completely change how you think about your spend. Let's say your firm has an average case value of $30,000. You only need to sign one additional client per month from SEO to generate $360,000 a year in revenue. Let that sink in for a second. One client a month, if you're spending $3,000 a month on SEO, that's $36,000 annual investment producing $360,000 in revenue. That's a 10-to-1 to return. And that's not some best case fantasy scenario. That's math working out at a fairly conservative one extra client per month. Compare that to traditional advertising, billboards, TV spots, even some PPC campaigns where the cost per acquisition can eat up a huge chunk of that case value before you even factor in overhead. SEO, when it's done right, is one of the few channels where the return can be that lopsided in your favor. Because once you're ranking, you're not paying per click anymore. You're getting the traffic essentially for free, month after month, as long as you maintain the rankings. So if the math works out well, why are so many firms still frustrated with their SEO, or worse, convinced it doesn't work for them? Here's the data point that explains it. Known personal injury firms see 300 to 500% returns on SEO investment. That sounds incredible, right? And honestly, it is when it's real. But here's the catch. Most of these firms still can't tell you how that return actually happened. And that's because most personal injury firms are being handed the wrong scoreboard. Most SEO reporting is built around vanity metrics, keyword rankings, organic traffic, impressions, getting to page one. Those metrics are easy to measure, and they're easy to put into a clean report with a graph trending up and to the right, which is exactly why agencies lean on them so heavily. But easy to report doesn't mean that it's what the firm actually needs. A firm can rank number one for personal injury lawyer in their city and still see zero growth in retained cases, either because the traffic isn't converting or because it's converting into the wrong type of case entirely. Small fender benders instead of serious injury claims, for example. So let me ask you the same question I ask every firm owner I talk to. When was the last time your SEO report told you how many retained cases came from organic search? Not leads, not calls, retained cases. Signed and active. If you can't answer that right now, you're not alone. Almost no firm can. And that right there is the entire problem in one sentence. So why does this keep happening, even with firms that are working with reputable, well-meaning agencies? It comes down to an incentive mismatch. Agencies are incentivized to show you wins that are easy to point to: ranking improvements, traffic growth, more leads showing up on the dashboard. Firms, on the other hand, are actually trying to grow their book of retained cases and reduce how dependent they are on expensive paid ads. Those two goals sound similar on the surface, but they are not the same thing. The gap between them is where firms lose visibility into what's actually happening with their money. Traffic does not equal leads. Leads do not equal retained cases. Let's walk through that gap step by step, because I think it laid out what makes it click. Because I think seeing it laid out makes it click. Traffic goes up. That doesn't mean more people are actually calling the firm. Calls go up. That doesn't mean more consultations are getting booked. Consultations go up. That doesn't mean more consultations aren't getting booked. Consultations go up. That doesn't mean more cases are actually getting signed. And even when cases do get signed, that doesn't mean they're good cases. The case value, the fit, whether it's even the kind of case the firm wants to take on. At every single one of those steps, there's leakage. People drop off. And most SEO reporting stops at the very first step, traffic, and then calls that'll win. So what does this blind spot actually cost a firm in real terms? Firms keep paying for SEO that looks good on paper but doesn't move the actual business needle. So eventually they'll assume SEO just doesn't work for them, and they pour more money into their budget into PPC instead, because at least with PPC they can see a phone number getting clicked. That creates a dependency cycle. SEO never gets credit for the cases it actually helped produce because nobody traced it back that far. PPC gets more and more of the budget, and the firm becomes more vulnerable every single year to rising ad costs, because remember, we already talked about how those clicks can run $150 to $300 each. Meanwhile, the competitors who are actually measuring the right things, who are tracking retained case outcomes instead of just rankings, are quietly building something much more durable. A lower cost acquisition channel that compounds over time instead of resetting every month with ad budget runouts. And I want to be really clear about something here. This isn't a story about bad agencies. Most agencies aren't doing anything malicious, and most aren't even doing anything wrong by the standards they're being measured against. That's a strategic blind spot at the industry level, not a tactical failure by one vendor. The entire industry has agreed to measure the wrong scoreboard, and everyone's playing along with it. Let me walk you through what actually looks like and what this actually looks like in practice, because I think it makes the problem a lot more real. Picture a firm spending $8,000 a month on SEO. The agency sends over a report every month showing rankings climbing for terms like motorcycle accident lawyer, personal injury attorney near me, along with a traffic graph trending upward and to the right. Looks great. The firm owner is happy, renews the contract without much thought. But when you actually ask, out of all the traffic, how many people called us? How many of those calls turned into consultations? And how many of those consultations turned into signed cases? Silence. No one's tracking that. The agency isn't set up to track it, and the firm never asked for it because they didn't even know to ask. That's not a hypothetical. That's a pattern I see over and over again. So if rankings and traffic aren't the goal, what is? The honest answer is retained cases and the cost to acquire them. Every single dollar a firm spends on marketing, whether it's SEO or PPC, should eventually be evaluated against one question and one question only. Did this help us sign more good cases at a cost we can actually sustain long term? That means firms need visibility into the entire funnel, not just the top of it. Search visibility, sure, but also consultations booked, cases retained, the case quality, and the value on the back end. Most firms only ever see that first layer. That's the exact gap that retained client SEO was built to close. Instead of stopping at rankings and traffic, it tracks the entire path from the click to the call to the consultation to the signed cases. That means call tracking tied to a specific landing page and keywords, intake data connected back to the original traffic source, and reporting that shows you not just traffic is up, but this specific page generated 4 consultations and 2 signed cases this month. That's the difference between a vanity metric and a business metric. And that's a different way of approaching SEO entirely. One built around retained cases instead of clicks. So if you're a firm owner watching this and you're currently paying for SEO, here's what I encourage you to do. Ask your provider directly. Can you show me which pages, which keywords, and which campaigns led to actual retained cases last month? Not just calls, not just leads, actual signed cases. If the answer is some version of we don't track that, or that's hard to measure, that's a red flag worth paying close attention to. Because at the end of the day, Rankings don't pay your staff. Traffic doesn't pay your staff. Retained cases do. So to sum it up, if your SEO strategy is built around rankings and traffic, you're optimizing for the wrong scoreboard. The real measure of success is retained cases. And right now, most firms have zero visibility into that number. Over the next few videos, I'm going to break down exactly what a retained case focused approach to SEO looks like, what I call retained client SEO, and how it's fundamentally different from what most agencies are doing right now. If you find this video helpful, go ahead and subscribe, hit that like button, and share this with anyone you think could benefit. Maybe a farm owner you know, a marketing director, anyone trying to make sense of their SEO spend. It generally helps the channel, and it helps more people see content like this. Now, let's get back into it. If you're finding this helpful, go ahead and subscribe, hit that like button, and share this with anyone you think can benefit. Maybe a farm owner you know, or anyone who's trying to make sense of their legal SEO spend. It generally helps the channel and helps more people see content like this. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video.